Now, back here at home, meanwhile, there are just 4 days left for Donald Trump to come up with the massive $464 million civil fraud penalty against him. So far, at least 30 bond companies have given him the cold shoulder, according to Trump's attorneys. If Trump cannot post the bond by Monday's deadline, New York Attorney General Letitia James has said she is prepared to start seizing assets, potentially including iconic Trump properties like Trump Tower in New York. Joining us now is NBC's Garrett Haake. Also with us, MSNBC legal analyst Charles Coleman, a civil rights attorney, and Carol Lamb, a former federal prosecutor. So, Garrett, you have some new reporting about Donald Trump's growing frustration with this issue.
Yeah, that's right, Jose. My sources within the campaign and in Donald Trump's greater orbit down at Mar-a-Lago all say basically the same thing, that there's growing frustration and concern that this bond issue hasn't been solved yet, and it's not entirely clear how it will be. There simply isn't the money available to the billionaire developer to put up this bond in cash. I have a source that says that Trump allies have been calling around trying to see if perhaps some of his larger donors might guarantee the bond in some way, but they really haven't landed upon a solution yet, and the clock is ticking. One of Trump's attorneys, Alina Habba, was asked about perhaps some more exotic solutions that could be on the table on Fox News yesterday. Here's what she had to say.
Is there any effort on the part of your team to secure this money through another country, Saudi Arabia or Russia, as Joy Behar seems to think?
Well, there's rules and regulations that are public. I can't speak about strategy that require certain things, and we have to follow those rules.
Jose, excuse me, Jose, that's not a no about seeking out foreign sources of money here, but obviously that would create enormous conflict of interest issues at the very least and create a political headache where only a legal headache exists at the moment.
Yeah, and Garrett, we understand that Trump is going to be holding a big fundraiser soon that could help with his legal bills.
Yeah, look, across the board right now, Jose, Trump world needs money. They need it on the legal side and they need it on the campaign side. They're trying to scale up for a general election after this primary process. And one of the ways in which they're doing that is a more traditional fundraising operation like what we've seen from Republican candidates past. I was passed this invitation yesterday from someone who's expected to attend this event in Palm Beach that's coming up on April 6th. If you happen to be in the neighborhood and you have $800,000 in your bank account, you could be a chairman of this event here. The split is interesting because some of this money will go to the Trump campaign, some to the RNC, some to various Republican state parties, and some will go to the Save America PAC, which is the fund that Donald Trump has been using to help pay for some of his legal expenses. Now, that can't go to cover that bond, but for the attorney's fees, for all the other legal costs that he is facing now and will be facing throughout the course of the summer, if and when these criminal cases get underway, that's money that he and his legal and political teams are all going to need, Jose.
Garrett Haake, thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Charles, let's dive into a little bit of this. What are Trump's options at this point? He's really got a couple of days to find this extraordinary amount of money.
That's right, Jose. Trump has made an appeal to Judge Engoron, who, if you recall, is the judge who, number one, presided over the case, number two, entered the judgment, and number three, is now responsible for hearing an appeal around the bond to try and get the bond lowered, and that does not seem like it's going to be effective. I imagine that Donald Trump is going to try and come up with whatever he can, but ultimately, here's the problem that he has. You cannot posit yourself as this ultra-wealthy, successful business person and then also parade the various real property holdings that you have within your portfolio and then say, I have a bond, but I can't pay it. And that's why you see Letitia James moving very quickly and being very prepared to seize his assets and potentially liquidate them for the purposes of at least having the cash on hand to address the bond. Even if she does not necessarily liquidate them during the course of the appeal process, what she will do is have them and hold them as her property or as the property of the state of New York in order to satisfy that judgment. It is possible that Donald Trump could get as much of real cash or the property necessary in order to satisfy that bond and then come back to the court and say, look, this is what we were able to do. Are you able to reconsider your decision? But I do find that to be very unlikely. So at this point, as you've already talked about, the clock is ticking, and it will be interesting to see whether someone will step in at the last minute, i.e. a E. Jean Carroll situation, and put up the bond for Donald Trump.
I mean, and it's so much bigger than the E. Jean Carroll bond. I mean, we're talking, $400 million plus dollars. So, Carol, with your experience as a prosecutor, what does the process look like if we do reach the point where the Attorney General of New York starts seizing assets?
Yeah, I'd say this reminds me very much of a situation that actually occurred here in California back in the 90s, so 30 years ago, where the federal government actually came in and had to seize an entity known as the Bicycle Club in Los Angeles. This is well known to federal prosecutors because it was always the warning to us: don't go and seize an ongoing business, especially one that is rife with fraud, because you end up running that business. That's the way you keep the value in that business. And what happened with the federal government was they were essentially having to run a gambling casino for several years that, oddly enough, became the subject of an IRS investigation and prosecution. So Letitia James, even though I take her at her word that she will start seizing these properties if necessary, that's, running a business or running or keeping a something like Trump Towers, or even if she were to go to another state and start seizing Trump casinos. This isn't the business of the New York Attorney General. It's not their bread and butter. They don't know really how to do that. It's not something they want to be spending their time on. So in this situation, cash is king. Cash is king for everybody, for Letitia James, for Donald Trump, and also for the sureties that he's trying to get to post the bond.
And, Charles, on another case we're following, of course, yesterday, longtime Mar-a-Lago employee Brian Butler, who was a witness in the classified documents case, spoke to MSNBC's Ari Melber. Take a listen to some of what he had to say.
So you had the impression from the people around that Trump knew the things that went down were bad or illegal, and he didn't want that on video.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, why else would you need to know the video footage? And then why were they calling and asking me, hey, why didn't you tell me that this guy was on video moving boxes?
Charles, how significant is this?
It's significant, but not mind-blowing. Keep in mind that this individual is who was known in the indictment around Mar-a-Lago as Mar-a-Lago employee number 5. So this is information that the federal government has already had and planned for. I just still can't figure out for the life of me why there's so much loyalty around Donald Trump for someone who does not necessarily seem like he repays that in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
What do you see? How do you see it, Carol?
Yeah, well, I think that this is the kind of witness that every prosecutor loves to have. He's somebody who has never, from the get-go in the investigation, demonstrated a lot of loyalty to Donald Trump. He seems to have seen the light much earlier than others. Some haven't seen the light at all, but he's gotten his own attorney. He doesn't have an attorney who's paid for by the Trump Organization. And he's somebody who the jurors can probably relate to better, someone who depended on the Mar-a-Lago job for his livelihood, but at a certain point said things are not right here. So I think it's a very important witness for the prosecution. They're probably not thrilled that he's gone out and given an interview prior to his testimony on the stand. Lawyers never like their witnesses to be giving statements before their testimony because it's something that inconsistencies can be brought out at trial and such. But he seems to be pretty squarely self-recognizing what went on at the Trump Organization at Mar-a-Lago. And so he's a good witness for the prosecution.
Charles Coleman and Carol Lamb, thank you.